Living and Loving Life's podcast is to help people find their balance spiritually, mentally, physically, emotionally, financially, and socially. Listeners will have a positive mindset, renewed outlook for themselves, their future, and believe they are beautifully made inside and out. Listeners will shine and be an example to others as they live fully, completely with no barriers, no burdens, and no regrets.
Welcome back, everybody, to Living and Loving Life podcast, to our Monday motivationals or Motivational Mondays, like I say. We have an amazing guest today. We have Carolina with us, and she's going to tell us a little bit about herself and what she is currently into.
Hi, everyone. So it's super great to be here, Erica. Thank you so much for your introduction. So my name is Karolina Rzadkowska, and I'm an alcohol-free life coach. And basically, I help women who are starting to feel that, the social drinking or just the routine of that kind of a habit is kind of slowly taking them away from the health and the wellness that they want to feel on a daily basis, and also making maybe them feel a little bit more stuck in their productivity or just some of the ambitious goals that they have in life. And I landed at that personally because of my own journey. I wasn't someone who was knocking back like bottles of vodka every day in my life. I was kind of doing what everyone else was doing around me, going out with my friends, drinking on the weekend. But I really felt so stuck in that, and just like I was living a constant loop in my life and never able to make progress. And then I made some incredible changes. So happy to share that today with your audience,
Nice.
Erica.
So is that kind of what motivated you into doing what you're doing now, is because of your journey and what you found on your way?
Absolutely. So, when I was kind of going through it, like I said, I usually drink on the weekend. I felt like I was kind of doing what everyone else was doing. And yet every Monday morning I woke up feeling really low, really depressed, kind of ashamed, felt like I was 5 steps backward from where I left off the week before. And I kind of started looking out for examples around there, like people who maybe do take breaks from alcohol or go alcohol free. And all I could find was really traditional old school material for, alcoholism and AA and recovery. And the programs obviously are really great and really do help a lot of lives, but it just wasn't really fitting for where I was, like where do we talk about alcohol from maybe more of a health standpoint, or just someone who's looking to improve their lives doesn't mean they're necessarily, drinking way too much as those kind of really, more severe problem drinking programs go to. And I just felt so stuck. I was basically like, well, if I quit drinking, all of a sudden I'm going to be labeled as an alcoholic, and that belief really kept me stuck for a long time. And finally, I heard of what's called Dry January, which is basically like a health challenge to take the month off of January from drinking. And I was like, there it is. There's my ticket. I can do this, and I don't have to explain myself to people. I can just take a break from alcohol, because I really always wanted to, but it was always that social event on the calendar that kind of stopped me, And when I took that break from alcohol, I felt amazing. Like my sleep got so deep. I felt myself so much more present with my loved ones. I was writing more, reading more. And I actually went back to drinking in February just because I was like, well, I'm an adult. I have social obligations. Like, you can't just not drink at those, that's like this code I bought into. And when I drank those few times in February, I was like, this actually really sucks. Like, even a few drinks would completely ruin my mood. It would make me frustrated and tired and exhausted. And when I was alcohol free, I was like on the moon. I was like feeling so happy. I was feeling super, super energized. And I was like, you know what? There's something really to this. And I decided at that moment to take another break. It was going to just be another 30-day break, but that 30-day extended to 4 years. And here I am today. And I just think that there's so many benefits. And in looking into your relationship with alcohol and experimenting with a different lifestyle, like once I got a few months alcohol free, I just felt this drive and hunger unleashed inside of me. I felt this creativity, these new ideas. And within a really short time frame, I launched a business. I left my day job. I launched a podcast. I wrote a book. And now today, this book is going to be on bookshelves soon. Euphoric, Ditch Alcohol and Gain a Happier, More Confident You. And it's like basically some of the biggest goals I've ever had on my heart, I achieved all because I took a break from alcohol.
Wow. So looking back, you would have to say that those steps happen to be one of your biggest steps in your life.
Absolutely. And I would have never thought that that's how it would have worked out for me. And I'm not just like this one case, So I have now worked with hundreds, if not almost thousands of women who've had a similar experience, that they just make this one change, and it's not forever. It's not this black and white, I have to quit drinking. It's just, let's just try a break.
Right.
And that one break, they fall in love with it so much, they decide to keep going for a little longer and a little longer. And they themselves then unleash these incredible gifts into the world as well. I have clients who've done the same thing. They've written books, they've launched businesses, they've gotten promotions, like double the money that they used to be making, like just this really crazy bucket list kind of items that we all kind of have on the back burner of our someday goals. And like this one change just gives them the fuel and the momentum to go achieve it.
Yeah. Okay. So that's awesome. Okay. So tell me some of the health benefits that you do get from taking a break.
So what's really cool is that like you can get health benefits really quickly. So, most of us drink ever since we're like 17, 18, 21, whatever the age. And then we keep doing it for years. So by the time, you're an adult, you've had decades of this like alcohol habit in your life, and there's been more and more studies coming out saying, like even one drink lowers your lifespan by like 30 minutes, and it really increases your risk of cancer and heart disease. And I don't really like to lead with that stuff because it's kind of scary, right?
Yeah.
But like kind of on the opposite side, as little as 5 weeks off, 5 weeks, this is what happens to your body. So 5 weeks without alcohol. First of all, your liver fat will heal. So liver fat is the predecessor to liver disease. And in just 5 weeks, 15 to 20% reduction in liver fat, which is huge. Most like drugs won't do something like that, right?
Yeah.
So your liver is healing. And then they've even seen that like a whole year off alcohol, like you could have a liver that looks just like a non-drinker, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
Look how amazing our bodies are.
Aren't they? They're miracles at healing.
Yeah, that's the thing. What people don't understand is I feel like people get stuck in this way of thinking like, well, I already drank or I already smoked, I did the damage. But the thing is, your body can rejuvenate itself and heal if you give it that proper space and allow it to do so. So awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
What are the other benefits?
Yeah, there's many more. So again, just 5 weeks off. So blood pressure will go down almost immediately, like a lot lower. And here's something that most people don't know, blood cholesterol. So alcohol is usually not talked about when we think of lowering your cholesterol because it's not like a saturated fat itself, but it does increase inflammation in the body. And so when I removed alcohol from my life, my cholesterol dropped 51 points.
Wow. And that was for the first 30 days or
that was, I got tested a few months. So that was like 9 months of getting tested.
Okay.
But the studies that they've done on it show that the average person after just 5 weeks loses 20 points off their cholesterol.
Wow.
Just 5 weeks. Right. And like, I've tried all the diets. Like I've always tested high on my cholesterol, even though like you can't see me on the audio,
pretty
but
fit. Yeah.
I'm a fit person, I'm not like this 75-year-old obese person. And so I was like, why am I having high cholesterol? I couldn't make sense of it. I tried a lot of diets. I tried the workouts, and then 51 points with this one change. Like people can get off chronic medication with that kind of thing. How many people are worried about that? And so with blood pressure and cholesterol, these are the things that lead to heart disease. These are the things that really are risk factors in our lives. And there's this kind of misconception that like red wine's like good for your heart. All of that's been thoroughly debunked. Like there's so many more negative consequences for the heart than any benefits that it actually causes it to sag over time and to exert more like energy to beat without getting like the physical, like when you work out, you're actually getting that benefit to work out your heart. It's like the same thing's happening when you're drinking alcohol, but you're not benefiting from that physical exertion. So it just gets more inefficient over time at pumping blood. And so if you're worried about heart disease, if you just want to get heart healthy and get a lot healthier, just taking a break from alcohol will really help with that. And then the brain. So with the brain, they've shown that alcohol shrinks someone's brain. So even like under 7 drinks a week, which is like nothing, people have smaller brains than non-drinkers. So they've proven though that with even just 2 weeks, the gray matter in the brain starts growing back. And then within like 6 months, it gets back almost to like the levels of a non-drinker. And then over a year, something really cool happens. The brain grows even bigger than if someone never struggled with this at all. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Because it gets so much better at like self-control, emotional resilience, just all these different things are growing in the brain. And then lastly, another really cool one is your cancer markers. So they've studied it and found that just, again, 1 month off alcohol will reduce cancer markers in your body, in your blood work, which is, again, just so crazy. Nowadays, the American Cancer Society says there's no safe amount of alcohol to drink. Like, it recommends 0 drinking. And so if anyone's also worried about cancer risks, like, again, you don't have to go forever, but like if 1 month could do so many of these benefits, it's like, why not try it and see what happens?
Exactly. And on top of that, you got more than you were expecting when you stopped your drinking, so people, you're telling them these cool benefits, but the truth is what else would come on top of what you're already giving, so that's so amazing. So what does it do to your happiness level, and how does it affect it?
Yeah, it's such a great question. I think like we start out always looking for, oh, will this make me feel healthier? Will this give me more energy? And obviously that's like a given with taking a break from alcohol. But something that's really less unknown is how alcohol affects the neurochemistry of our brain. So basically what it does is it lowers our happiness neurotransmitters over time. So the things that are supposed to make us happy, like dopamine and GABA and serotonin, those levels all go down over time. In fact, alcohol does increase them in the moment that you're drinking, but because it's such a like artificial spike, it actually makes you less sensitive to dopamine over time. So it's like, it's just like with any other drug. The actual receptors in your brain retract for dopamine because it's getting these artificial spikes. And so you're just less sensitive to like more natural joy, if that makes sense,
Mm-hmm.
And so then in addition to that, because our bodies are really like fine-tuned instruments, whenever we drink something that's like a depressant like alcohol, our body has this response system to counteract that depressive nature. So our bodies will release cortisol, adrenaline, and another chemical called dynorphin that flood our bodies. And dynorphin is kind of like the opposite of endorphins. It makes you feel really low, really depressed. They've actually found a lot of high levels of dynorphin in people who commit suicide. So in addition to making all the happiness neurotransmitters go down, all these stress hormones go up in someone who drinks. And this isn't like heavy, severe drinking. This is just regular drinking. This is just what alcohol does to the human body. And so if you ever feel anxious after drinking, a little like low, a little just like, I'm not like so proud of my life, like that's not just you. It's actually like the chemical cocktail of alcohol in your brain. So it's really cool. It's within about a 4 to 6 month or week long time period without it, all of that rebalances in your brain. So your dopamine and your GABA and your serotonin go up, and then all of those stress hormones aren't getting, pumped into your body as frequently. And so what happens is like, I remember this phase, like I was like, felt like I was falling in love. I was so giddy. I was so happy. I was like having dance parties with myself. I was singing in the car. I was like staring at trees and clouds just in this pure amazement and wonder. And it was so cool because like, honestly, I started drinking at 18 and I did it almost every weekend since then. I had no idea what my natural state felt like, my natural like brain, And obviously it's not all unicorns and rainbows and the newness kind of can wear off, but like the natural levels of a non-drinker will be so much higher, you know what I mean? Than the just what alcohol does to the brain of someone who's drinking. And again, that's another just cool thing to experience. Like if I took a break for a month or maybe 2 months, like would that really change for me? It's so incredible. And from that state of happiness, like what else could you do?
Yeah, exactly. What doors will be opening for you? And then it also helps you be more clear, being able to see your vision or see what's right in front of you versus that foggy mindset because it's not so clear on just normal things. You know what I'm saying? Your normal hormones aren't acting as they should. So things are a little out of whack. You did say when people are depressed, this would drop them down lower. So basically you're telling me if somebody's already on the verge of committing suicide, drinking is probably not a good idea.
Oh gosh. Yeah. I mean, like that's oftentimes when people do commit suicide, they do find alcohol. Maybe not in their body that
people are like, I'm having a bad day. This is the thing that people say, I'm having a bad day. Let me get a glass of wine. But what you're really doing is not helping it go up. You're actually putting yourself in a lower state of mind, which is not a good thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing too.
Has it misconstrued though.
Exactly. Like we think a drink relaxes us, right? And there is that like 20 minutes where you're just like super unplugged and like the dopamine goes up in your brain. I mean, come on, heroin and cocaine will do the same thing for you, right? But then you crash and then you're back with all those feelings and you might not feel well. You know, you feel like you didn't make any progress on any of those feelings. And technically, physiologically, alcohol does not relax your body because it's releasing all those stress hormones. So it's actually doing the total opposite of relaxing your body. And, you know, when you're into like health and wellness, there are things that work, right? Like they're not as fast, but they work much better, you know, whether
and more consistent and longevity. It's not a 20-minute fix. It's a long-term fix. Okay. So that's awesome. And I think that's great to give that for people's awareness, because like I said, people say, oh, I had a stressful day. Let me go get a glass of wine or a tonic, whatever their choice is, but not knowing what that actually is doing. It's not making anything better. It's actually making it worse for them.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. Okay. So how do you navigate social events? Because clearly you said you had no alcohol for 4 years, but you're still hanging out with friends and doing fun stuff. So how does that work for you?
That's such a good question. And, you know, I'm a total introvert. I was pretty shy growing up too. So when I started drinking at the end of high school and college, to me, alcohol was like this magical elixir, you know, like it turned me into a social butterfly. And I thought like I needed it. I thought that I needed to have alcohol to socialize, to be confident, you know, and I used it through my entire decade of my 20s to socialize. I couldn't even fathom going to a party or something like that without drinking, honestly. So like, if I could handle this one, you know, like I bet you anyone can handle it. But what's really cool about going alcohol free is that I had to learn how to get really confident and comfortable in my own skin, you know, and instead of outsourcing my confidence to this substance, I had to develop those skills within myself, you know, like really practice them. And ultimately, like what I was doing, and I was telling my subconscious, like, you're not good enough, Carolina. You're not interesting. Nobody wants to talk to you. Nobody likes you unless you're drinking alcohol. How damaging are those thoughts, right? And I didn't even realize I was having them. But every time I said, I need a drink to talk to people, that's what I was really telling myself. Yeah. And so it was a really cool personal growth opportunity for me to like learn how to develop that confidence within myself, to feel awkward sometimes, sure, you know, but then just like, you know, like just be myself, my authentic self, who I truly, really am. Right. And then, of course, it's not just like, you know, the social skills that come with it. It's also the society that expects you to drink right in that moment. And that's a whole other lesson, right? Like, it's like, I can't go to this wedding and not drink. Everyone will be drinking. Everyone will be saying stuff. And some really cool things I've learned along the way with my journey is that upwards of 52% of all people actually wish they drank less or not at all. Mm-hmm. And so the way I see it is that when you're the one who's actually doing it, when you're the one who's actually deciding to go to an event and order a mocktail or get, you know, some other kind of non-alcoholic beverage, half of the people around you wish that they were doing what you were doing, but they just don't have the bravery to do it yet. And so that kind of switches the mindset all of a sudden. Instead of thinking of this as like, oh, a weakness, or I can't drink, or everyone's going to think I'm weird or have a problem. It's the total opposite. Most people actually wish that they could do what you're doing. And you're probably inspiring them and showing them that like, hey, a social life does not need to come with the hours. Like, when did we all decide that collectively as a society that socializing equals not feeling well the next day? It's kind of crazy if you think about it objectively. And there's so many alternative beverages out there today. There's non-alcoholic wine. There's non-alcoholic IPAs. There's really cool like craft soft cocktails. There's really cool health tonics and elixirs that are their own kind of like category of drinks now. There's so many options out there today. And most people find that when they have a drink in their hand, it's like the placebo effect, you know, like I still feel buzzed when I hang out with my friends. Like I have a natural buzz, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's different. But so really quick, I want to point something out that you mentioned. And the real reason I brought you on here too is because you said something. It was the lack of confidence that you had in yourself. And that's what is so important, is when people love who they are and have that confidence, you don't need something to mask or to fix or to make you feel better or more worthy. That comes within yourself, not from a drink, not from drugs, not from validation from other people. Whatever your choice of high is, you don't need that because you do that for yourself. And that's the most important part of this conversation, is that people need to find that the true happiness comes within yourself, by yourself. No one else will do that for you. Your society cannot do that for you. Social media is not going to do it for you. That's something that you have to sit with yourself and just really be okay with that and accept all that it is and be fine with it. And like you said, your true authentic self. And that's where that true happiness comes from. And that's the goal here, is trying to help people realize all of these little tricks and traits you're doing for your happiness. Those are, I call Band-Aids. Let's take Band-Aids off and actually really heal ourselves, so that just sitting at home on your couch, you feel like you're out at a party with 70 drinks, because that's just how you feel about yourself. It doesn't matter where you are, what's going on. You're just in a constant state of happiness because you love everything that's going on in your life at that time, or, in your life. So that's awesome. I love that. I like bringing all type of people so that people can see that it all kind of goes together. Yeah. Can't have one without the other.
Oh, that was so beautifully said, Erica. Like, you're just so spot on about it, and like that, there's like a refreshing feeling to being that authentic person, like firm in your own identity, not worrying about what people think, not needing something else to take the edge off or relax you or make you confident, really finding that strength within yourself and going on the journey to discover it, like it is within you, and it's going to be a process. It's not like an overnight fix, but that's kind of what helps you determine what you really want in your life, what you want it to look like, who you are, what you need. It's like answers the deepest core questions that we have as humans. It's an incredible journey to go on.
Yep. And I advise everybody to take it because it's the best thing that life can offer you. Okay. So tell us, what has been one of your hardest lessons that you've learned during your journey, and how do you apply that to your day-to-day life?
Yeah, I think you said something really important earlier about like other people's validation, and I think we grow up in a society where that is literally how we are trained to function. I mean, we grow up getting good grades, so our parents will be proud. And then hopefully we get into a good college, or we get some kind of title behind our name, or get this job promotion. And we sometimes stop and ask ourselves, or we forget to stop and ask ourselves, like, does this make me, does this make me happy? Is this what I want my life to look like? And it's kind of where I found myself before I took my break from alcohol, because I was working a 9-to-5. I got 2 master's degrees. Like, I didn't need to, right? Like, it was totally for this like validation thing. And I just was kind of checking all the boxes off of like what success looks like in life. And yet I wasn't fulfilled, like I had these dreams of traveling while writing a book and being like an author and having an impact with the business. And I didn't really see that role modeled around me, so I was just like, okay, I'm just going to stay in my box. I'm just going to do what everyone else does and what everyone else expects of me. And taking a break from alcohol literally gave me the confidence to push the edge on that, to just be like, not only am I doing the courageous thing and doing what most people won't do by taking a break from alcohol and going alcohol free to a wedding, but it's like, it gives you the courage to do the next thing that most people won't do, and I left that day job. I launched that business. I wrote that book. And, that lesson about like the validation that you want from other people, like it still hits me today. Like I'm following my North Star now. I'm definitely going for my truest, biggest fulfillment in this world. And yet I'm not completely absolved of that, that worry, not like, what will people think, but still like, like, is my book going to be received well by the public, or do I have enough social media followers, right? Like stuff like that. That's so ego driven. It's still something I totally work through, and I can see the progression of where I came from and where I am today. And I know it's going to keep like getting better. It's going to be a lifelong journey of letting that go. But I think that is a really big one for me.
Yeah. But the thing is I'm glad that you said that, because it makes it more real for people, because yes, you can find this happiness, but it's forever evolving. The more you learn, the more you need to learn, the more you need to see, the more it's clear, the more it makes sense, but it's all for the good, to be better and better and better. Like you said, I don't think we ever arrive. I think that we're continuing to arrive.
Yeah.
It's a continued path. Okay. So in your opinion, when someone says to live and love life, what does that mean to you?
I think it's being like awake and alive to it. Like we are so good at distracting ourselves and numbing ourselves, and just life is overwhelming. It is hard. It is stressful. Like I know that stuff, and some people have it really, really harder than others, and it's such a like coping mechanism. It's such a like need for survival that we just like retreat into ourselves and we distract away. And like you said earlier, it could look like anything. It could be alcohol, but it also could be like working too much and watching too much TV and the social media. There's so many ways that we do this as humans, and everybody does it. Like nobody not does it. Right.
Yeah.
But to like really decide, I want to be awake to my life. I want to be alive to my life, and to really put like what that truer meaning of life looks like for you at the forefront of your goals. It's not necessarily about reaching your goals, right? Like the goals are just these ways that we grow ourselves.
Right.
And so I think really living and loving life is about like living into your purpose and your potential and just being awake to this life. Like we're going to snap our fingers and we're all going to be 90 one day, you know? And I don't want to look back and think of all the things I didn't do that I regret.
Awesome. Love it. Okay. So you did mention your book, maybe mention your book again. So that if anybody missed it or somebody tuned in later, and any other new products that you might be offering for the listeners to look for.
Absolutely. So my new book, Euphoric Ditch Alcohol, Gain a Happier, More Confident You, is available for pre-order right now and will be on bookshelves January 4th. And if you do pre-order the book, you'll get some incredible bonuses that come with it. So I'm offering my mocktail recipe ebook with it. I'm also giving away 50 things to do instead of drinking, because often the first objective is like, well, I'm going to be bored. Well, here you'll get a really good idea of things to do, as well as trainings on how to kind of change your mindset around alcohol. So those are all really cool bonuses you can get. And so if you pre-order the book, you can go to euphoricbook.com and get your copy. And it'll be available like in Target and all bookstores January 4th. So I'm super, super excited for that. And this book is also like really helps you understand why taking a break from alcohol is so amazing. So it goes over the health, the body, the mind, and the soul. So it's a very like holistic view at like all the amazing benefits you can expect. But then it also will guide you through it. So there's an 8-week plan to actually guide you through your first break from alcohol, and not only like learn how to not drink. That's like only half of it, right? Learn also to how to remove your desires for alcohol so that that's not controlling you. Like you're in control. Like you always get to decide, not this subconscious urge or habit that's developed over the years. And also start discovering like, well, what are my bigger dreams? Like how do I want to live on this planet Earth, and kind of leaving you there so that it's a really great personal growth journey. So that can be found at euphoricbook.com. And I'm super excited for this book launch. And, if this piqued your interest, like it's not black and white, you don't have to quit drinking. Like just lean in a little, just like lean in and see what you're going to find and learn a little bit more, because I promise you'll find more of yourself by leaning into the ways that like we distract or numb ourselves. Like, and you kind of question that a little bit and the societal conditioning around it, you will find so much of yourself. And if anyone's interested in working with me to like take a break from alcohol, or if you're already alcohol free and you're starting to feel those new desires on your heart, like that, those new dreams coming to you, you can go to euphoricaf.com to take a look at my courses and coaching. So my courses really help someone take their first break from alcohol. And then my coaching is really for someone who's ready to take that next step and go after their big dreams. So that's at euphoricaf.com.
Awesome. And for the listeners, I will have that in the show notes so that it's easier for you to contact her at any time. But thank you so much for joining us today and dropping those little jewels on us. They were amazing, and I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Erica.
Thank you guys for listening, and we will see you back next Monday for another Motivational Monday. Have a great week.
If you love the Living and Loving Life podcast, we'd love for you to subscribe, rate, and give a review on iTunes. Don't forget to join us next week for another episode. Thank you for listening.